Hi guys, welcome to Multiverse. Today we are going to take a look at the Black Panther. Obviously, as most of you knows, or probably know, there is a Black Panther movie coming up, so it was more than appropriate to make a Black Panther video at this point. I'm, as you can see, I tried to recreate pretty much the classic look that the character had for a long time in the comics. Sadly, the closest we can get to that look is using the Batman call or the Dark Knight call. And sadly, the face part is kind of hard to get if we go for the dark blue version. Basically, for a long time in comics, when they wanted to create a black costume, they would actually make it dark blue in order to sort of recreate black or the closest they could to black at the time without having a black splotch on the page. So for a long time, the Black Panther was portrayed as dark blue in the comics. Sadly, as you can see, dark blue doesn't work all that well. So we're going to go into another direction. When the character first appeared in the pages of the Fantastic Four, he kind of looked like that. Obviously, the color is different because, again, as I mentioned at the time, in order to create black in the comics, they would actually make the costume dark blue. And in this case, there was a whole bunch of black mask with some dark blue highlights, and that was pretty much to try to reproduce black in the comics at the time. It's something that was used all over the place. It was used for black hair. It was used for a lot of things that were black in the comics. So again, they would make them with a lot of black masses, but with some dark blue highlights. But then Marvel quickly stopped using the cape for some reason. So this is pretty much the look we had for a long time in the comics. Basically, pretty much any slimline set of gear would actually do the trick. There's like a truckload of pair of gloves that could do the trick. The belt, I went with a square buckle belt. Again, there's a whole truckload of belts that could do the trick. And the same with the boots. The only thing that really is needed to recreate that look is their Dark Knight cowl. Everything else, pretty much any slimline, any pair of gloves, and any boots could almost do the trick, or at least a large number of them. So for a long time, this is pretty much the look we had in the comics for the Black Panther. And at some point, for some reasons in the comics, they decided to give him a drastic costume change. They gave him an open face mask. Basically, they opened the mask around the mouth for some reason. I'm not sure if they were trying to get the character to look more like Batman, which a lot of people were comparing it. There were a lot of people were calling it the Marvel version of Batman somehow. But through some misguided attempt, they decided to open the face of the mask, which luckily didn't last too long. They quickly went back to the full face masks, which pretty much made the character look distinctive from Batman, for, amongst other things. Like Spider-Man also had a full face mask, so you have to wonder why they wanted to go differently with Black Panther. The idea behind the full face mask, one of the things that I think it's Stanley who said that somehow made Spider-Man really popular, is that with the full face mask, anyone could imagine being Spider-Man, no matter what color, what race, who you were. You could imagine yourself behind the mask, seeing how the mask would cover the whole face. And I thought the same was true with Black Panther. And later on in the comic, they would try to redesign the costume again, or to reinvent the costume and the character. They went back to the short cape that the character had when he first started, and also they added a whole bunch of sort of jewelries or yellow elements to his costumes. I suspect in part to try to give it some contrast, but also I guess they were trying to make it look more tribal or something, which I guess kind of works, sort of. Although the cape I'm using here is the Cloak of Hades, it's not quite right. The emblem is the emblem, the Vixen emblem. The belt comes from the Speed Metal belt, the enhanced Speed Metal belt. The gloves are the Egyptian gloves. The boots, I would just went with the tall classic boots. They worked well enough to add just a tiny bit of yellow to the boots. The cape is not quite right. It should have like a big collar. I'll show you what I mean. So the cape should pretty much be a mixture of the cape you just saw and this cape here. Sadly, this cape here is a little too long to recreate the Black Panther look accurately, and there the cape is missing the collar. So if we could take the short cape of the one that you see to the left and mix it up with the collar that you see on this cape, we would have the perfect cape to reproduce our Black Panther character. Sadly, again, within the limitation of this Universe Online, well, you have to make a choice. Either you choose to go with the Miracle Escape, which is too long for the actual look of the character, but which has the awesome big collar, or you go for the shorter cape, which is closer to what the character was actually using in the comics. But sadly, the short cape is missing the collar, which I thought it was an important part of the look of the character. In the movie, they sort of kind of went with a look like that. They actually kept the black costume, but obviously the costume has all those unnecessary lines, which is pretty popular, which has been pretty popular at least for the past 10 years, if not more. Basically, the designers are into the habit of adding a whole bunch of useless lines to the designs in order to try to make the design look less like cosplay. I guess one of the main complaint that a lot of costume designers have is that if they try to reproduce comic book costumes accurately, it ends up looking like cosplay, which in my mind I'm not sure why that's a bad thing. So they're always trying to get away from cosplay, so they always try to add those weird unnecessary details, or a whole bunch of lines or a whole bunch of textures to movie costumes to try to distinguish it from cosplay for some reasons. So in this case here, I went with the Stalwart Defender chest and pants. I went with the Green Arrow belt. And the gloves is also the Egyptian gloves. For the boots, I went back to the nuclear boots from our friend Firestorm. And again, the neck piece is the Vixen neck piece. And of course, the cowl is still the Dark Knight cowl. I was tempted to go with maybe the Dark Spectre cowl so that we would have a full face mask. And in the movie, the headpiece almost looks like a helmet as opposed to just a mask. But I decided to stick with that version. I thought it looked a little bit better and closer to the spirit of the character, if it makes any sense. And that will be pretty much it for our Black Panther video. Basically, the movie is coming out. As I'm recording this, the movie will be out in theater in about a week. So obviously, I didn't see the film just yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to see it the first week it's going to open or not. It all depends on what will happen. Like with Thor Ragnarok, it took me like a month before I was actually able to finally see the film. So hopefully, if I see the film early enough, I won't be spoiled by people about what's going on in the film. If not, well, I'll try to avoid the spoilers if I don't see it right away. I guess we'll have to wait and see. So that's pretty much it for our Black Panther video. So as always, guys, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.